Earth Day to you as well. It's a very important day that we're having here, Sung Symposium and Earth Day. We're coming together. And we are about one after, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with this wonderful event. First, I'm Dr. Lee Frame. I will be your host today. So you're going to hear a lot from me. And I thought you might want to know a little bit about me. So I lead the GW Integrative Medicine programs and the Office of Integrative Medicine and Health, as well as the Resiliency and Well-being Center, but we'll have more on this new center to come from the center's medical director, Dr. Lorenzo Norris, later in this event. But first, a brief introduction to the GW Office of Integrative Medicine Health, or OIMH for short, and its annual event, the Sung Symposium. In 2017, Dr. Pan founded OIMH in the Department of Clinical Research and Leadership under the auspices of then and current chair Leslie Davidson, who I have to add has been extremely supportive, and thank you very much, Dr. Davidson. Dr. Pan also founded the GW Center for Integrative Medicine in 1998, so integrative medicine has been part of GW for decades. The OIMH mission is to ensure excellence and sustainability of integrative medicine through commitments to high-quality education and training, community engagement, strategic partnerships, evidence-based practice, and patient-centered care. OIMH leads professional development, education, scholarly activities, and community outreach in integrative health approaches. OIMH was started with a generous donation by GW alumnus Dr. Patrick Sung and his wife Marguerite. Dr. Sun was diagnosed with myasthenia gravis, and the integrative medicine approaches he adopted have put him in remission. So Dr. Sung actually understands the power of an integrative approach to medicine firsthand, and he was generous with his donation to allow us to spread the word about the evidence behind this to others. Today, the work of OIMH is made possible by generous donations from those touched by integrative medicine around the globe. We hope you too will consider supporting our work, such as this annual event, our Sung Symposium. This event was named the Sung Symposium in honor of the generosity of the Sungs and was first held in 2018. The Sung Symposium promotes the use of integrative medicine and has had several themes, including brain health, longevity, whole health, and now resiliency and well-being. To kick off this year's Sung Symposium, we are fortunate to have Dr. Barbara Bass, Vice President for Health Affairs, Dean of the GW School of Medicine and Health Sciences, and Chief Executive Officer of the GW Medical Faculty Associates. Thank you for joining us, Dean Bass. We eagerly await your opening remarks.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Frame. This annual event is really a highlight of our academic year, and I'm really pleased to be able to be here. And we've come a long way in our technology too. I remember the first year it was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this, and I hope that soon we'll be able to, although this virtual format works quite well, I hope that we'll also be able to join together in one place, because there's great value in that as well, particularly when we think about whole person presence, health, and everything else. But thank you for having me. And I got to say, I want to particularly, like you, thank the Sung family for having provided that valuable investment that helped launch this program and helps to sustain it still. That kind of generosity really, as you can see from things like this, really makes a huge difference. And can really propel, a well-deserved new initiative forward in a way that, sometimes it needs that extra investment. So thank you so much to the Sung family for that. And also thank you to Dr. Pan for his, visionary adoption of this concept of whole person health and many, many years ago. And I guess as I was looking over some of the programs you've had, it really is wonderful that this program, this Office of Integrative Medicine, really both educates providers and the public, outreach. It does meaningful research in terms of how best to advance and utilize whole health principles and integrative medicine concepts. And it also, of course, provides information to our public and great awareness of the value that this approach to medicine, to health, I'm going to say to health, not to medicine, but to health can make. And as I reflect on these last couple of years, one of the things we always say is never let a good disaster, never let a good crisis go to waste. And I think in some respects, the incredible stress that everyone has felt during this last time, this last 2 hard years, which are not quite over yet. I hate to say it, they're not over yet, has really kind of over and over again demonstrated to all of us as providers, as educators, as leaders, as people living their lives that that we can't just be fixed by medicine. We really need a different set of tools to keep us healthy and well during these special times. And I would say that may be one area of awareness of the important role that these principles of integrative medicine have been amplified during this time. And so let's don't let that heightened awareness right now slip away. I mean, let's use this as a moment to really embrace these concepts and bring them forward, because I think we've all seen clearly enough that just plain old medicine is not going to keep us well during these last 2 years. So congrats to those of you who have really been in the leadership forefront of advancing this principle of care and the evidence and research and education around it. I'm really, really excited to see that. And then to see this time actually, another point where we don't let a tremendous disaster go to waste was the formation of our Resilience and Wellness Center at GW School of Medicine and Health Science, which serves our entire academic health enterprise. And boy, do we have fantastic leadership in that group with you, Dr. Frame and Dr. Norris, and the team that's been built in there. I think you're going to see again, sort of the synergistic opportunities that bringing these two programs together. But, it really has empowered people to look carefully at their own health, to have greater awareness of their own vulnerabilities and the need to develop strategies and pathways to resilience and good health. So kudos to everyone that's part of these programs that have been launched and expanded and further developed over many years, and especially these last couple of hard years. So good luck today in this symposium. I'm sure it's going to be fabulous. It's always great. I'm so glad that you do this in the springtime as well. It's a time when we all want to have some resuscitation and rebirth, and couldn't be a better day for it here in Washington, D.C., and better time of year for everyone, I hope. So thank you very much, Dr. Frame, and thank you for our visiting speakers as well, who I know will really provide great insights for the learners that we have gathered with us today. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us and for those words. One thing that really stood out to me is you hit on the word that really speaks to me of empowerment. We're trying to empower people with knowledge and data and research and a better understanding. So I'm glad that comes through. So we will continue on that path of empowerment. And I think everyone is going to feel very empowered after this next speaker. I'm extremely pleased and frankly honored to welcome one of my close colleagues in the field of integrative medicine, Dr. Francoise Adan. In our field, she actually needs no introduction. She's extremely well known in the field. But just to give you a brief introduction, Francoise is the Chief Whole Health and Wellbeing Officer at University Hospitals Health System in Cleveland, the Director of Connor Whole Health, and the Chair of the Board of Directors at the Academic Consortium of Integrative Medicine and Health. I could go on and on about her accomplishments, but Francoise has asked me to keep this brief and give her the extra time to engage us. We are in for a treat, so without further delay, I turn it over to you, Francoise.
Thank you so much, Lee, and thank you kindly for those words, but more important for the invitations. And thank you to GW, Office of Integrative Medicine and Health, and of course the GW Resilience and Well-being Center for inviting me. So it's a great pleasure. I decided I have no slide actually for you. I'm going to go wild and do something a little bit different. No need for slide, just having a presentation for you that I hope would be meaningful and impactful. I know that we'll have Q&A questions at the end of the three speakers, the two esteemed speakers after me, but I think that using the chat to just say hello to old friends, new friends, and colleagues is really fun. So keep it going, and it makes us feel like we are together in the same room and as much connected as we love to be. So I like to start my presentation with a short meditation. And, you know, all of us probably run from a busy morning and are now decided to be here with each other. And why don't we take a moment to anchor ourselves into the present and to feel a connection. So I'm inviting you to find a comfortable position. You can use the back of the chair to support you. You can stand up, you can sit straight. Just make sure that you're not distracted by discomfort. And start to pay attention to your breath as it goes in and out your nose. Maybe gently close your eyes, or if you prefer, you can simply look down. And we do that just to decrease distraction and stimuli. And pay attention to your breath really means nothing else than being present, being an observer. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to change the rhythm, the depth, the cadence of the breath. Just breathe in and out your nose. And then using your imagination, see if you can visualize an image of peace into your mind's eyes. Maybe it's the word peace. Maybe it's a symbol. Maybe it's a place that you like, or the face of someone you love. And then repeat silently this simple affirmation as you are breathing in, I am. Breathing out, peaceful and present. And let's actually breathe together. Breathing in, I am. Breathing out, peaceful and present. One last time, breathing in, I am. Breathing out, peaceful and present. Take a moment to notice how you feel. And when you are ready, open your eyes. Great. So my topic today is about thriving through uncertainty. Lesson learned from people who are resilient. And we all know we learn a lot over the last 2 years of each other, of ourselves, of our community, of what works, of what doesn't work. And I'm going to put it together for you. Today, I will share some practical tools to build and increase your resilience. I hope to leave you with some hope, but I will also challenge you with a call for action. We teach best what we need to learn, and there is no coincidence that I'm here with you today to talk about this topic. Fighting my own battles, surviving my own challenges, finding my grit, using pain and fear and discomfort to find an opportunity. Here I am. I have been a psychiatrist for 25 years and as I was calculating, I realized that I have been for about 35,000 hours one-on-one with patients. Incredible. And I saw that people get beaten, betrayed, they feel lost, guilty, angry, sad, scared, desperate, resentful, envious, heartbroken, shocked, overwhelmed. but somehow they survive. Somehow they emerge, they stand back up and move forward and even thrive. I have heard it all, and I'm still amazed. My patients have shown me over and over about how resilient humans are. So many times I've been at AO, and I'm so grateful for the lesson I have learned from each and every one of them. As long as I remember, resilience has always been fascinating to me, almost bewilderment, before I even knew what the word meant. Hearing stories after stories of struggle and victories, witnessing tears and triumphs, I've spent, really frankly, my life wondering, how do people do it? How do they thrive? How do we do it? How do you do it? How do I do it? And I've been wondering, is resilience a trait of the superwoman or the superman? Well, let me tell you, I really don't know much for sure. But one thing that I know is the simple truth: no. After 35,000 hours spent listening, guiding patients, I learned 3 things. And all of them give me hope. First, resilience in my mind is the ultimate equalizer. What I mean by that means that resilience is not related to how much you have, what would you vote for, what is your title. Sure, it might obviously help, but I have seen too often people who have everything, and for some reason, at some point, they can't cope. Whatever step they need to take is just too much. And I've seen the opposite. People who have nothing, people who have such difficult circumstances that you can barely imagine how do they do it, but somehow they find joy, purpose, meaning, and can take the next step. I also feel that resilience is categorically refusing to be a victim. It's a choice, it's an action word. It's a choice we make, not to blame, but to face what is, because at the end of the day, it is up to us to find the way back up. But the best of all is that resilience is a skill. It's a practice. It's a discipline. Nobody is born with it, and it can be learned. So I hope today I'll give you some guidance and some practical steps on how to build it. How do we put it all together? The first thing, and I know I'm talking to some people who really believe that as well, but often it's not because we are advising others to do this that we are good at doing that ourselves. So I feel like self-care is the first step with resilience. Resilience is the foundation is self-care. The most important word in self-care is self. Remember when we used to fly, and we are back to a certain degree in flying, the flight attendant always request and remind us that we need to put the oxygen mask on us first before we attend someone in need. They do that for an analogy. And they do that for a reason. Many of us are not so good at it. And we treat our children or family or work or car or dog better than we treat ourselves. But it really is not negotiable. If we want to bring the best version of ourselves into the world, we really need to take care of ourselves. Because everything is just going to be harder when we are depleted. So self-care is a bad reputation, but it's just the opposite of being selfish. Because if I take care of myself, I'm going to bring out the best version of myself. So I'm a physician, and I started my career actually as a family medicine physician when I was, taking pulse and blood pressure and all those vitals. And of course, we do not have a cuff that we can put around our arm to measure our resilience level or stress level. So there is a little self-assessment that I'd like to take you through and do this with me. So by the way, feel free to use the chat to answer some of those questions and keep it alive. We are among friends and colleagues. First questions I'd like you to ask yourself is this. When you are at your best, when you are in your zone, when things seem easy, how do you feel? How do you behave? What are you like? It could be physically, it could be emotionally, it could be cognitively, spiritually. I know that for me, this when I'm at my best, when I feel like I'm in the flow, in the zone, I have a great sense of humor, and it's easy for me to make a decision. Ask yourself the opposite question. When you feel like you cannot take the next step, when you are at your worst, when stress is really taking the best out of you, how do you feel? How do you behave? What are you like? Again, could be physical, could be physically, could be emotionally, spiritually, cognitively. How do you know you're not doing well? For me, when I am at my worst, basically, I am someone I don't like, basically. I am judgmental, I'm critical, I'm cynical, I feel like everybody is so slow, and I take things personally, too sensitive. In short, I really don't like that person, and certainly I'm not effective. Yeah, Lee, you get short temper. Me too, and that's clearly not effective, and certainly not the best version of myself. Awareness is key. Awareness is really, the pillar of emotional intelligence. And without awareness, it's really hard to make changes in ourselves. So, two questions, right? Starting with, how are you at your best? How are you at your worst? Two more questions. What do you know for sure that is always helping you, always give you a little lift? Very personal. And by now, you probably know that, what is your best antidote to feel stressed? For me, taking a walk and listening to my, some upbeat music. Same questions, but what do you know that always, if you do X, is going to make you feel worse? Yeah, good answer. Thank you for being participating in this. So what do you know that always making you feel worse? For me, not getting enough sleep is definitely a recipe for disaster. So why is this important? Because this is kind of your feedback loop. If you see, self-care is always important, but if you are at your worst, it's basically an emergency, and you need to even emphasize even more. Now, maybe you have noticed that a lot of us, when we are at our worst, we just do more of what's not helpful to us. This week has been really hectic for me. I was kind of falling short in preparing for this presentation. And yesterday, it would have been so easy to say, you know what, I'm just going to pull, not an all night, but working late. And guess what? Then today I would have arrived exhausted, probably lost my train of thoughts, and completely missing this really, frankly, fantastic opportunity I have to connect with you. So because I'm aware, I use more of what's helpful to me. I went on a walk. I literally dragged myself out of my office, went on a walk, got to bed early, listened this morning to some upbeat music, and somehow, I know that I'm talking about something that I love, and I know I could put it through without spending a few more hours preparing. So again, I can't say enough about the importance to be self-aware, and as it's a required step to manage our stress and as we build our resilience. So when I talk about self-care here, I'm talking really about the basics. I'm talking about healthy nutrition. And to keep it really, really simple. And Lee, you can add, but I said, okay, eat more veggies, more fruits, less sugar. Keep it really, really simple here. Stay hydrated. That the first sign of fatigue is, the first sign of dehydration is fatigue. Move your body. Choose something that you like, because every single step counts. Don't put, unreasonable goal that you're not going to fall through and give you a reason to beat yourself up. Just take some small goals, but honor and treat yourself like you are really precious, and get enough sleep. It says that 70% of Americans are sleep deprived. I mean, it's crazy. And, I don't know about you, but for me, one night of poor sleep is enough to really derail me. And it required a lot of discipline and to be respectful of that. So, and then we talk about food, nutrition, hydration, movement, sleep, and the last is, of course, find tools to manage your stress. And that tool, it's yours. I ask you, but it's always helping you. So that's one of your tools. But I wanted to comment on two other tools, mindfulness and gratitude. By the way, that American Medical Association said that more than 80% of visits to primary care are due to conditions that are either caused or exacerbated by stress. Mark Twain, by the way, you might You probably know that quote. He said, I have had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. Right? I think we can all relate to that. What a waste of energy. We are literally hijacked by a train of thoughts. We are telling ourselves stories, and then we look for evidence to confirm them, and we become so convinced that the worst is going to happen. One of the antidote to being hijacked by a train of thoughts is mindfulness. It's the practice, the skill to stay present as an observer. We are not in the past, what we could have done, should have done, would have done, that often leads to regrets and sorrow. And we're not jumping into the future, the to-do list, what might happen, which most of it never does, the to-do list, but that often leads to worries and anxiety. My favorite quote is from Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. And that's what we call it, the present. Let's take a moment right now to anchor ourselves in the present. I like to use our senses to do that. What you see, what you feel, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste. Look at something like you have never seen it before. Be here, right now. Not an easy thing to do, to be present, to be mindful. I know that the next speakers are going to talk about research and more in depth about mindfulness, but I felt like it's such an important tool, a way of living, really, that I wanted to mention here. It's giving us an option to jump off the train of thoughts, to take an inventory of the moment, to be aware, again, not only of what's going on with us, but what's going on in our surrounding. And often it makes this stress that big as this, like this, because this is not manageable, but it was compiled with storytelling. This is manageable. And it's certainly not a way not to address what's going on, but to address it with the facts and objectively, not with the storytelling that we are so good to tell ourselves and tell each other. Probably my favorite tool is gratitude. And, you know, my own routine is to write down 3 things I'm grateful for every morning before I get off the bed. And it started a habit that it's really hard to actually stop at 3. So it has also some evidence base, but that's that I chose to do a talk that is more practical, I say, and with no evidence base. But let me tell you that everything I'm talking about actually has backup. So I'm not sharing the evidence, but I know that they are there. The gratitude, there are so many things that are hopeful. So the last tool that I want to talk about is a phrase that I heard from inspirational speaker and writer Virginia Brett, who is a Clevelander, and I wanted to make sure I'm giving her credit. She said, "No, N-O is a complete sentence." no. We really don't owe anyone an explanation when we cannot do this or that. So, think about what can you take off your list. The pandemic certainly has allowed us to have to reset our priorities, maybe sometimes to even reinvent ourselves, and give us an opportunity to maybe take some stuff out of our list, maybe adding something, but certainly give us time and opportunity to really choose more carefully the things we commit to. Now, I don't know about you, I find that very, very difficult to do. So my trick is if it's hard to say no immediately, at least I do not say yes. And what I mean by that, if someone would say, hey, can you do XYZ? I'm going to say, let me get back to you. And during that pause, I'm thinking, do I feel like I would want to do this? Do I feel like I have to do this? How does that fit in my priorities, in my goals? How does that fit in my life? And it gives me really clarity as well as strength to go back and say yes or no. And by the way, if you say no to someone without an explanation, you really give them permission to go on, move on, and go ask someone else. So self-care is the foundation of resilience, absolutely not negotiable. Period. And I know, I agree with you, it's not an easy thing to do. A lot of people I start to see actually even put that in the schedule on their, Outlook or whatever a calendar you are using, blocking some time or taking time to breathe or meditate. And it doesn't take that long. It's just really an intention and a discipline. So now let's move into what resilient people, what do they have in common? And that's what, what I'm going to share with you is what I read from research as well as hearing from my patients. Yeah, Lee, time to do it. That's good. So, but first, let's even define resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back, to adapt, and to recover. It's a practice, it's a set of skills, it's something that all of us can learn and master. Now, it is not a vaccine against trauma, loss, adversity. It's not protecting us from feeling fear, grief, sadness, doubt. Bad things happen to good people. Everyone has been impacted by the pandemic, but let's face it, we didn't wait for the pandemic to really know the roller coaster of life. Maybe we remember when we were 6 and we were not picked up to be on the baseball team. Maybe we've been diagnosed with a difficult disease. Maybe we got our heart broken. Maybe we didn't get the promotion that we were hoping for. Maybe we find ourselves in divorce court. Maybe we lost someone, and on and on and on, right? It happens. But we humans are so complex and so sophisticated that we can really have many feelings, many emotions at the same time. And the first characteristic of people who are resilient is they accept. That is so tough. They know that stuff happens. Suffering is really part of the human condition. Knowing that help us not to feel a victim. The less time we think about why me, the quicker we can start to recover. The quicker We have an opportunity to get back up, to get unstuck. The serenity prayer says, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is a tough one. It is really tough to accept. Sometimes it feels like it's passive and that, it's like giving up. It's just the opposite of that, frankly. But it takes that jump into to letting go. And when we do, it really provides freedom and energy to focus on the solution, to focus on what we have control instead of focusing on what we do not have control. One of my favorite equation is E plus R equal O. E is event plus R response or reaction equal outcome. A lot of the time, we focus on the outcome. The reality is the outcome is not totally on our control. The only thing, and even that is hard, that is on our control is our response. So think about how many times did you get depleted, frustrated, irritated, annoyed, when you really focus on something that you had no control over it. Well, the pandemic was certainly an example, but we have many, many other examples. Something to think about it. Moving forward, by the way, so, this acceptance stuff, moving forward doesn't mean that we forget what happened. It doesn't mean that we don't feel or honor our loss. It means that we are moving forward with the memory, the loss, the pain. Again, we are so complex animals that we can feel many emotions at the same time, grief and joy. I worked at university hospitals in Cleveland, where I had the privilege to serve as the director of the Corner Whole Health, as well as being the chief whole health and well-being officer. I live in healthcare, and I can tell you that nothing is more contagious than emotions. The second trait of people who are resilient is positivity. Positivity is this unstoppable hunt to find what is right. It's not to be optimistic. It's not to pretend everything is great and everything is going to be okay. But it's this intention, this hunt to look for what is right despite it all. It's not easy, again, when we are bombarded constantly by negativity, by the media or the news. Certainly, bad news sells, and the media is daily having a feast at it. So, but it's up to us to protect ourselves and find way to limit that, but also to look, despite being bombarded with negativity, how do we find positivity? Again, it's not about ignoring the problem, but it's making sure that we have an objective observation of the situation and the acknowledgement of what's good. Looking at all sides of the situation and maybe even finding the silver lining. During the last, couple of years, is there a silver lining for you about the pandemic? We are more resourceful, more creative, more apt at finding solutions when we are in a mindset that is willing to acknowledge the good. So I'd like to ask you, just for fun, use the chat. Think about one good thing that happened to you over the last 24 hours. Now, don't think too big. It could be you saw a beautiful tree that has flowers, or you find a parking spot right next to what you wanted to do or to go, or you had a delicious cup of coffee, or you had dinner with a loved one. Something good that happened to you over the last 24 hours. Nice weather, a gift from a student showing appreciation. Yeah, keep it going. I remember leading a psychotherapy group for patients with depression. This is a few years ago, and asking that question. And we know that when people are living depression, it's really hard to think anything good and to feel anything good. And we're going around, lunch with Lorenzo Lenzi, that seems fun, in person, even better. Great, keep it going. And so finally we go in front of, we call him Henry, and Henry took a long time, but eventually he said, I woke up. Certainly beat the alternative. So I start most of my meetings like this at work. And it put us in a different state of mind. I mean, very quickly people smile, giggles, and they feel, because we are, again, human, we are connected with each other. They literally feel the joy, the emotions, the expanse of each other. Like when I'm looking at this, I can't help to sleep, enjoying a movie with my partner, working out, going for a walk, having lunch. Yes. All right, awesome. So nothing is more contagious than emotions. And, how do you cultivate that hunt for yourself and also encourage others to do the same? And, maybe again, that's one way to share your meeting, or also we read testimonials, right? And that from patients, and that always give, lift the mood. And especially if it's a difficult meeting, it's even more important because it's literally put us in a state of mind where we are simply more resourceful and more creative. So the last characteristic of people who are resilient after having the ability to accept and then be positive is a sense of purpose, of meaning. One of the most read book in history is Man's Searching for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Dr. Frankl was a Jewish psychiatrist who survived being a prisoner, camp prisoner during World War II. Everyone should read this book, probably more than once. He really talk about resilience and survival through meaning. So I'm inviting you to read that book. One of my favorite songs is the song I Will Survive. And she said, as long as I have love to give, I will survive. I have all my life to live, all my love to give, I will survive. I love that song. It's from Gloria Gaynor, 1978. I will survive. Yeah, you know it. It is so upbeat, but so powerful. I love her message. And I really feel like this is my song. I have an important job, a fancy title, a good income. But at the end of the day, what really, really matters to me is connections. And it's love with a big L word. So I believe that the meaning of my life is to love and to be loved. And I'm wondering, for all of you, what is your purpose? What is your meaning? What's giving you courage? What's giving fuel your resilience when things are really tough? And some people are having incredible goal and spend their entire life in the pursuit of a cure for a disease, and that's extraordinary, and we really are appreciative of that. But it could also be something as simple as be kind, be a good neighbor. So having those three characteristic, again, it's something that all of us can aspire to do and to have. Be more acceptant, which really translates into focusing on what we have control, which is that much, and it's basically this. Positivity, which really is a choice. It's an intention. Doesn't happen without the willingness to see what is right. And then this sense of meaning and purpose, to know what really, really matters to us, what is going to add fuel to our tank and help us to see the silver lining. If resilience is a learned skill that starts with self-care, it ends with compassion. And more important, self-compassion. Compassion is an action word. So if empathy is the ability to feel what someone else feels, I'm able to put myself in someone else's shoes. Compassion is to do something about it. In healthcare, compassion is crucial. You know that there is research showing that it takes less than 13 seconds to establish a compassionate connection with a patient. And the patients who feel that their providers are compassionate are more adherent to their recommendations. They're more engaged in their own health journey. They feel more empowered and therefore more equipped to deal with what is and take charge of their health and report a more beneficial and pleasant patient experience. But what's more surprising is that providers, clinicians who are compassionate experience less burnout and report less, report a greater resilience. So being compassionate really doesn't take time, seconds. It's as simple as being an active listener, offering a smile, a hand, suspend judgment. I give you an example, personal example, that was frankly life-changing for me. It was on a Tuesday morning in 1992. I remember like it was yesterday. I was an intern at the Cleveland Clinic. And I just came out of my call, barely slept for 36 hours, and I'm rounding with my attending Dr. Voss, very scary, Dr. Voss, by the way. And we run all the interns and the residents and the fellows and the faculty, and like in the movie. And we are arriving to the patient that I am presenting. And she is a 22 years old woman hospitalized for endocarditis, infection of the heart, following secondary to IV drug use. She's the mother of 5 kids from 4 different fathers, and she kept me up most nights. I am depleted, and I told you how I become when I'm not managing my stress well. I am at my worst. I have no resilience left. I'm judgmental. I'm annoyed. I feel hopeless and helpless of what's coming for her. I feel like I can't help her. And this is not a pretty scene. And Dr. Voss stopped me in my track and looked at the group and say, do you think she woke up yesterday morning thinking, how can I ruin my life and the life of my children? And it just had a profound, I still feel my heart shaking. It has such a profound impact on me. The moment that, the kind of moment that you remember for the rest of your life, and this is a turning moment for you. Was I compassionate? Absolutely not. I was judgmental. But the moment I felt compassion for this young woman, the moment I felt better. And I felt that maybe there is hope, and maybe I can do something to help her. When I started to suspend judgment and knowing that all of us, we have shortcomings and we make mistakes, and we just need each other. So I share that with you because, again, I feel like this compassion, it is so important. And again, it requires intention, like everything else I talk about today. But now, what about the most difficult of all? Self-compassion. We all have an inner critic that is so harsh. We are so quick to remember and not to forget our failures or mistakes. We judge ourselves so harshly. Let's be wild and imagine that you would treat yourself as you would treat someone you love. Celebrating small or big victories. Giving yourself unconditional love, particularly when you fall short. Willing to remember your humanity. Try it. It will only bring out the better version of yourself. And again, build your resilience. So, kind of trying to wrap things up here. We talk about the importance of resilience and the fact that resilience is something that we can all have, learn, build, but it requires practice. It's not something that you get once and then oof, off you go. It's something literally you have to work at it every day. Kind of like, we're stopping at the gas station regularly to fill the tank of our car. And we talk about the fact that self-care is absolutely not negotiable. It is key, starting with the basics, as well as maybe adding some tools to manage your stress. We talk about the fact that people who are resilient know how to focus on things that they have control. They accept, and accept, I think, is a very active word. It's not passive. it requires, it's not an easy thing to do, but it's the opposite of being passive. We talk about positivity, and then we talk about how important it is to find meaning and have a purpose and know what matters to us, what matters to each other. And then we wrap up with the need to be compassionate with each other, because it actually feeds us. Again, people, physicians and clinicians who are compassionate have less. Oh yeah, I want to emphasize that because maybe I didn't say it clearly. Physicians who are compassionate, and patients report that those physicians are more compassionate, express less burnout, and it's not the other way around. So we would think, okay, if I am not burnout, I'm able to be compassionate. Well, not always, but what is for sure that if I am compassionate, I have a much better chance not to be burnout. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Nietzsche, a famous German philosopher from the 19th century, said that. I think that what it means is, what did we learn? What did we learn over the last 2 years? What do you know that was helpful? What do you know that was harmful to you? What can you give yourself permission to celebrate? What mistake did you make? What lesson did you learn? Did you find a silver lining? Maybe, you reset some goals or some priorities. I talk about the fact that I really would like us to set an intention and to set a call, inviting us to set a call for action. Remember what I said about emotions. Nothing is more contagious than emotions. So what about if, after today, and I know we're going to learn a lot from the next two speakers, and the GW continue to do amazing programming on that specific topic. What about if we work collectively on our resilience? And we not only survive, but we thrive despite it all, despite all the things we went through over the last 2 years. And if it was only the pandemic, but let's face it, we had so much more: climate change and war and social distress and politics and on and on and on. So we can wait. We know what do we decide to do together, individually for sure. But since I suspect that all of us here are givers, what can we do together to really impact our environment and each other? Something that I'd love for us to continue to reflect during this afternoon, and keep at it. Certainly it doesn't stop by 5 o'clock this Friday. What is the tool, the tip, the practice that we are willing to commit? Maybe a simple, single steps. Maybe we're going to practice gratitude for the next week. Maybe it's positivity. Maybe it's to smile more. What is it? What is one step that you are going to you're willing to commit to make your world a better place? But if your world is a better place, we all will benefit from that. So I'm going to the end of my presentation. It's been really a great pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I am very much looking forward to see you all in a couple of hours